We're talking Tennessee. What's up, IBT family? Tonight, we lock in our DFS tiers and best bets for Bristol. Let's get you set for 500 miles of short track racing here tonight on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the States.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you, wherever you may be. Thanks for tuning into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting and fantasy NASCAR show. Full house tonight. My name's Elliot Hicks. Directly to the side of me, we've got Seth Woolcock, Grand Poobah over here at In Between Media, and we've got Chris from the Flag Hunting Podcast back with us this week. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to be here, especially for such a great track. We'll talk about it a little bit, but I'm going to be there. So excited to talk about a race that I'm going to be in attendance for. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. I love having Chris on the show a couple times every year. This guy sees the field pretty well. And generally when we have him on the program, we see the field well. So I'm hoping for a big bounce back at Bristol. I'll be honest, guys. For the couple of years we've been doing this, had a tough one out there in Phoenix. Was not seeing the field well there at all. So, Elliot, I'm looking forward to bouncing back here. And, dude, is there anything better than Bristol? Like, let's be honest. I think if you're a NASCAR fan, you effing love Bristol, right?
Yeah, especially Bristol on the concrete again twice a year. You know, it's been such good racing the last few years. Bristol dirt was fun, but let's put that to the side. And I love weeks when we have a guest like Chris on because, like you said, it really helps us see the field better. And it'll help us recover from what was not the best week on the track or in the betting cards at Phoenix. Let's take a look back in the rear view. So Toyota was the hot ticket there at Phoenix. Each of the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers led at least 50 laps. I see Tyler Reddick led a boatload of laps as well. And at the end of the day, it was Christopher Bell in the number 20, sort of avenging that mechanical issue he had in the championship race last year at Phoenix, taking home the W in the spring.
I mean, congrats to Chris Bell. I can never get this cat right. I was so heavy on him at Las Vegas, so heavy on him. And but yeah, I mean, Toyota just came out of the park swinging. And I can tell you, I knew I was absolutely boned that week when Derek Yoder came on our show Thursday night. And I said, hey, I'm fading the Toyotas. Nothing in the stats say they are good at Phoenix in the next gen era. Chris had some insider information. He laid it out there. And I was sweating from then on. And Chris, how about those Toyotas, man? Were you as keen as Derek was about the Yoders being strong out there on the West Coast last weekend?
Not quite as in tune as Derek, I guess, but we the only pre-practice and qualifying bet we had was on Denny Hamlin, so we were on a Toyota, just not the right one.
Yeah.
And then the bet I'm most mad about is that we jumped on, those like Bovada specials where it's like to win the pole and the race. So we caught it after practice. There was a 40-1 on Christopher Bell to win the pole and the race.
Wow.
All we needed him to do was just do what he did last year and just be first on Saturdays. And what does he do? He messes up his qualifying lap. So we had a chance at a big ticket, but yeah, we not a good week for us.
Well, and two things that you note there, Chris. The first is as we continue to grow as bettors in this community, I think we're learning practice and qualifying really do matter. So like I'm trying to pace myself a little more. Elliot, I know you're trying to learn that skill as well. And we see perceived value early in the week, so you say, oh, this is going to move. And sometimes we see those lines move right in front of us. So I'm encouraging myself. I'm encouraging the IBT family tonight. Like, let's continue to look ourselves in the mirror. And like, I got way too heavy before practice and qualifying. Didn't hedge enough with those Toyotas on the back end of things. And also, Elliot, how about that caution that kind of just flipped the field? We had a little strategy out here in Phoenix that we usually don't see. And man, that caused a lot of havoc. And I'm curious to know in the chat, how did everyone else's betting card go? Because mine went up in flames when that caution came out, and those fortunate few were bumped up in the field.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to see some strategy come into play because back in the day, I feel like every other week it'd be somebody's trying some fuel mileage. You'd have guys running out of fuel in the back straightaway. course, us Dale Jr. fans will know a couple of heartbreaking fuel mileage losses there. But with the stage cautions now, you just don't see that as much. Everybody's able to time it up with the stages. Everyone's usually good. Larry Mack is telling us everybody's good on fuel. Don't worry about coming to pit road. But it's nice to see a little bit of strategy there. Even though, passing-wise, it kind of wasn't the best race. Everybody's talking about get the horsepower up. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. But I think we're definitely going to be back to some good and exciting racing at Bristol this week.
Chris, how do you feel about the championship race? There's a lot of discussion on the internet right now, kind of slandering this Phoenix Motor Speedway. I don't know if it's terrible racing, but there's something that I feel like is lacking. The tires seem to be a lot better. We heard some compliments from Goodyear and everything they're doing. But the package was up and down. Some drivers said a little bit better. Some said a little bit worse. Still the same short track package that we've been running, though.
Yeah, I'm not completely against the idea of having a championship race at Phoenix. I just don't like having it there every year. Let's move it around. Maybe a year or two down the road when we actually figure out the short track package and we have a better races at the short tracks, let's bring it back. But yeah, we need a break from Phoenix as a championship race. But bringing back Homestead, I think, is everyone's dream.
I love that. It would be really fun too. Let's just move it every year. Every year it's a different spot.
Yeah.
Random roll of the draw this year. The dice. Oh, Daytona's a championship race.
I mean, we are a little limited in the fact that it's like we need to be realistic, right? It's November, so it has to be a warm weather racetrack. So we are limited to where we could go. And I've also heard rumors that we would never have a race that's not at a NASCAR owned track. So we're not going to see a Speedway Motorsports track as a championship race because NASCAR wants to be in their playground, right? So we're so limited until NASCAR decides they want to branch out and listen to the fans.
Yeah, either way, man, it's good to have at least one short track down. We can take that information, we can apply it to future betting cards and also the DFS markets as we have that open up this weekend. Elliot, any final words on Phoenix? Are you ready to jump into things as we head back out east?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the last great Coliseum and break it down in the horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we were just talking about how nice it was to have a short track already done this season, but we're going back to another short track, and it's the intermediate package being used here for the 500 laps at Bristol.
Yeah, it's interesting. Good to get back on the concrete. Good to see that we are mixing the package up a little bit here and not getting the true short package. I think will give us a little bit more racing. And Bristol's been a pretty fun track, and going 500 laps here, Chris, I think that's going to be interesting. It's not a night race. It is a day race. So a lot of different factors to consider, but when you do factor in the 500 laps around this, this little bowl we got going on here in the middle of Tennessee, does that sway you at all to advise against taking some of these younger drivers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm going to be talking about some of the younger drivers a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm more scared of just adversity in general at Bristol, not the endurance factor of it. It's more of just there's just wild things that can happen at Bristol, right? I mean, it's like you said, it's a bull ring. So no, I don't think the age necessarily factors in for me. It's more of just, who can really grind out and really get a finish here over a long race, right?
Elliot, how do you think you attack it? Hearing what Chris just said, and we know there is a little bit of volatility here. If a crash happens, we're going at some higher speeds than we would be at some other short tracks. So, cautions can stack up the field pretty quickly. Does that factor into how you're playing things here early in the week?
Yeah, I mean, cautions can stack up early, and cautions breed cautions. So the further back you are in the field, you're going to run into trouble. We were just talking about, we got the numbers here. Obviously, we're doing this show pre-practice and qualifying, but save a little bit of coin for after that, because if you got somebody who looks good on paper, goes out and qualifies 22nd, 25th, something like that, even worse than that, or has to go to the rear for some sort of issue, got to be careful because trouble can come early back in the field.
Bottom line, God bless NASCAR for bringing back two concrete tracks, two concrete races this year. I'm psyched for it. Looks like Stan's excited for us. And Bristol Dirt was not fun. I don't know a single person who liked it. My one-man boycott of the dirt race obviously worked. You're welcome. Thank you, Stan. We appreciate you, bud. We appreciate you, pal. Alfred saying, though, I didn't mind the first dirt race because I hit a 22-1 on Joey Logano. There you go, Alfred. That's my guy, Alfred, taking some swings. Yeah, I thought the dirt was nice for a year, guys. Like, but I felt like it kind of wore off pretty quickly for me.
I don't dislike the idea of a dirt race, just not at Bristol. Like, let's do a true dirt race at a dirt track and keep our 2 Bristol dates. But yeah, and it doesn't have to be every year, like you said. Like, we can make it an every other year kind of thing. But I don't know. I personally enjoyed the dirt races.
Yeah.
We fared pretty well betting wise at them, but I prefer the concrete, obviously.
Yeah. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit here. Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to get a 20-minute practice. Still the A and B groups. I've heard a lot of discourse on the internet as well about, hey, should there just be one group? I'm not here to make that decision. 5 p.m. Eastern time is that. Qualifying 5:55 Eastern time, and then truck race Saturday night. No Xfinity this week, which I think will give some people in the betting community a little break from that, because I know that's been pretty high variance this year as well. Sunday then, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, cup race, lap 125, 250, and the end of this race will be lap 500. Elliot, I think it kind of rolls out the length of this race. You're not going to be going, betting across stages or anything like that.
No, definitely a long race and just so much stuff that can happen.
Yeah. Let's talk a couple of the trends here I found interesting that we can maybe apply to this weekend. First of all, we kind of know this is going to be the first race on or the first season with concrete races of both Bristol dates since 2021. Chase Elliott owns the best active starting position among the field. Hamlin and Rowdy are the only active drivers, though, with more than one pole. Hamlin has 4 of them, hasn't gotten that since 2019, though. Kyle Busch, 8 Bristol wins for him. All other active drivers, 10. However, he hasn't won since 2019. Elliot, I know you're high on him, though. And then let's talk grid position, because I had no idea until I did a little more auxiliary research this week that it really matters here. The winner has come from the pole 21% of the time. Absolutely crazy number. Front row wins 33% of the time. That's way higher than average, folks. So, like, qualifying, Chris, do you feel like you're going to leave a lot of your bankroll to the side to make a possible post-qualifying and practice bet based on that number?
Oh, yeah, honestly, I mean, I didn't realize it was that big, but yeah, we've started to trend towards like 30% of our budget pre-practice and qualifying, and 70% of our budget after. So I would prefer to stay in that lane, especially after seeing that.
Wins by team too. Like, I know a lot of people. We're high on Toyotas this week. It's no joke, no doubt about it. But also, Elliot, wins by team over the history of this track: 14 for JGR, Penske 13, HMS and RFK both have 13. So, like, and there's a lot of cars in both all those stables that I feel like could make a case to win this.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a 99% chance your winner comes from one of these 4 teams, right? That is way more even than I thought, though. I thought we would see one team pull away a little more, but all basically even there. JGR, we can give the little stick tap to Kyle Busch for getting most of them.
Yeah. Good point. And RFK, like, actually being kind of dialed in on this track too. And they looked good as hell in this race last fall. So I know we'll have some RFK love on the show. iFantasy Race Asterisk Driver of the Week. I'm excited to get into it. If you guys haven't checked out iFantasyRace.com yet, please do so. It's where myself, Elliot, and a lot of NASCAR handicappers are getting their data and information. It's a big hub. They got truck and Xfinity stuff over there now that can kind of help the average gambler like myself that's trying to dip his toes into those series. So make sure you're checking out. They got everything from total speed rankings to loop data and also just the schedule for the week and everything you need to know. So Ryan notes here over on the website, Eric Jones was a top 10 contender last year at Bristol, but finished with an asterisk mark 24th place finish, started 31st, finished 14th in stage 2, was 10th going into lap 315. Then shortly after, had to make a pit stop for a loose wheel. I feel like that's been Eric Jones' entire season, guys. It's like every time this guy gets some momentum, he has to pit, he has to make some untimely stop. And that's what happened there. And then also drivers that may look like they had a misleading result in the fall Bristol race, but actually were just kind of dog shit. Brian Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe. So kind of some of these hot names early. Hearing that, does that change your mind on anything you've thought about so far, Elliot?
I mean, you take a look at some of those stats. I mean, you mentioned I was a little high on Kyle Busch. Sometimes, this was the fall Bristol. You got some of those guys that obviously struggled in the playoffs. You
Yeah,
got
good
some
point.
guys.
Good point.
You got some guys that just couldn't nail the short track package either. So, I mean, even though we're using the intermediate track package, whatever they used last year, they just couldn't nail it. And I'm sure, a lot of big names there. They'll definitely want to do better this time around.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, looks like we got Alfred in the chat saying when you guys get to betting, if I were inclined to like Larson at 5-1, I think HMS winning team at 3-1 is better value. Yeah, we can definitely elaborate on that more, but I think you're definitely in the right ballpark there, Alfred. We appreciate the question, man. We'll talk more about that when we get to our parking garage props. And we got Troy in the chat. What's up, Troy? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in with us. And what do you guys say? Well, let's break this down a little bit further in some tire tiers.
Let's roll.
All right.
All right, so the Larson love is definitely not misplaced there. He is the favorite this week, the highest price on the board at 11,500. Denny Hamlin is at 11,200. Christopher Bell, 11,000. Then you have Byron, Blaney, and Busch all above 10,000. Chris Buescher, 9,800, and on down the line. So, all right, Chris, who are we starting off with here in our driver A's?
Ooh, starting with me. I think you have to start with Denny Hamlin, the 11 camp. For my model, which I run a bunch of stats from, as you mentioned, iFantasy Race. I run some stuff from Win the Race. I run some of my own kind of models here, and Denny Hamlin ranks at number 1 for me. With how strong Toyota's looked early out in the year, I think it'd be not smart to fade Toyota, Seth. So this, I'm staying there this week. I was on Hamlin last week and didn't quite hit it, but I'd be willing to go right back to the well. Maybe not at his price in the outright market, but for a daily fantasy, I think he's a good guy to start your lineup with.
I think if I'm paying up for someone, Elliot, it's Denny Hamlin. I'm scared of some of the other chalk up top here. Denny Hamlin is my favorite. So, Chris, right on with you again, man. Good call there.
Yeah, I'll keep the Joe Gibbs Racing love train rolling here. I'll put Christopher Bell up. Toyota was so dominant last week. I know it's a different package, but Toyota's obviously been good at the short tracks here, and I think Christopher Bell will be chasing down that 11 car most of the race, if not running ahead of him.
Yeah, I like the call. Let's throw RFK up there. Go ahead and give me Chris Buescher. I'm going to reserve Brad for right now. I think Buescher is a step above him at Bristol. We've seen the speed as of late here in the next gen era. He is actually number 3 in our total speed rankings. And we know he won this track not too long ago as well. So give me Chris Buescher. I like him a lot this week. And you're getting a great discount, 9,800. I know that's high for Chris Buescher. We usually don't pay that much for the RFK cars, but at a track where 11.5 Larson sitting, 11.2 Hamlin, give me the discount on Chris Buescher. I'm not afraid to roll out with him as my top driver this week.
Yeah, and hey, we got 3 of the top 4 in the iFantasy Race speed rankings there. My guy Chris Bell, though, first in 2022, first in 2023. Kind of like who I got.
Chris, what do you got for us, man?
I think we need to get a Chevy up there. I think Kyle Larson. Let's go back to what Alfred was saying, right? I think Larson, he has a knack for this track. Number 1 in loop data last year, and second in the Win the Race True Performance rank. So shout out to the Win the Race guys. They have him number 2 on their board for pre-practice and qualifying. And if you do use, I personally, I don't know if you guys use Dover as a comp track, but it is like a secondary comp track, and Dover is one of Larson's best tracks. So yeah, I think Larson's a kind of, even though the odds boards might not say it, I think he's going a little under the radar this week.
Yeah, that's just a lot to pay at 11.5 at the top of the board for Larson. But of the top 4, he's the one we hadn't selected yet in the iFantasy Race speed ranks.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Elliot. Just a little too expensive for me this week for Larson. I've been riding him the last couple of weeks, and I'm there with you. And yeah, I totally glossed over it. Didn't mention any comps, but Dover is my only true comp for Bristol. I think it's a very different, unique short track that I'm definitely weighing Bristol the heaviest, but I did look at Dover too. So I wanted to point that out there. Looks like we got Rachel in the chat. What's up, Rachel? Good to see you tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we got Troy saying, put the Yoders in tier 1. Elliot, you going right back to him? You going right back to the T's, baby?
No, I had 2 picks I was balancing here. Neither of them are Toyotas. I'll do it. I'll put Keselowski in tier A. You know, it's been one of his best tracks outside of the super speedways is Bristol. Led about little laps there in 22. Had that issue. Consistently good car. Finished in 8th, I believe, last year. If Brad's going to sneak out a win as an owner driver, probably just as likely it comes at Bristol as it would at a Daytona, Talladega, or Atlanta at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's been kind of tough to ride with Brad in the DFS scene as of late. We're just not getting the finishes, only averaging about 28 DK points. That's why I put him a little bit more down from Busher, who's been a little bit better. But yeah, Busher had kind of that blow performance a couple weeks ago that definitely crashed his overall rating, but he's been really good in the DFS street. So RFK can't go wrong with him. Who else did you have, Elliot?
I was briefly thinking of Kyle Busch, but I think this is a little too high to rate him. So you can go ahead, Seth.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would have fought you on that one, I think.
Yeah, a little high for him.
All right, I'm going to go with 2. I'm going to talk about this guy a lot tonight, and Ty Gibbs, throw him on the board. I mean, just totally undervalued, 8,000 on DraftKings right now. Absurd price for a guy who was really the second best car back in that fall race, if you go back and watch that, and started second in that race, finished 5th, led 102 laps. I'll talk much more about him, but this is a guy who just continues to get better this season. Number 1 in average finish in the Cup Series, one of only 3 drivers to have 3 top 10s. He joins Ryan Blaney and Ross Chastain in that stat. I think the ascension for Ty Gibbs came faster than we were all thinking, and now we need to catch up because the books have not caught up. DK is not caught up either. So let's exploit that this week, guys. Give me Ty Gibbs up there. Chris, anyone else for you here in tier A? I think there's one glaring hole we're missing.
Yeah, I'm on the fence of like, do I want to stick to tier A or go down the next one? But I think we have to put William Byron up here. I don't know if that's what you were thinking, but I just feel like he's 4th in my model. He's 2nd average finish in the next gen era, 4th in average qualifying. So we know he should start towards the front, as we just pointed. That could be a big factor. You know, and obviously like. I run a stat that's like it's kind of a mini model within the model, and it's a mixture of finishing position, qualifying position, and drive rating, kind of excuse me, jumbled together. And he's 2nd in that as well. So for me, he's riding the fence. But you know, a guy like in that 24 team, if they start towards the front, they don't typically lose. They're a good team to like kind of hold their spot. They don't typically lose spots.
Yeah, I like it. Elliot, can we extend the A tier out one more, or do you think you got to go B?
It depends. Who do you have, Seth?
What do we do with Chris Bell, man? Chris Bell, I mean, absolutely pops here too. Number 1 in the Bristol Next Gen Total Speed rankings. I can't get this guy right. I bet everything I had on him at Las Vegas. He screwed me. Comes back and has a great race. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it because it's not the short track package this week? You want to put him in that B tier?
No, but I think I picked Chris Bell was my first pick on the board.
He's already there.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay.
Hey, you're right though, Seth. He definitely should be a tier A, and that's why I grabbed him right after.
I apologize, folks. One too many Busch Lights tonight already. We got Troy saying Kez had an absolutely amazing run last year at Bristol, P26 to P8 to the finish. Yeah, you're dead on there, Elliot. Lana saying hi guys. What's up, Lana? Welcome to the party. Thanks for hanging out with us again. All right, yeah, let's go to B tier. Sorry about that, guys.
You're all good. If you're in the mood to talk Joe Gibbs Racing, let's go ahead and throw Martin Truex Jr. up here.
Yeah.
I know you said he wasn't the best here in the playoffs last year, but that team had a weird, crazy anomaly of a shit playoffs where they couldn't get anything right, even though they had the wins in the regular season. The speed rankings aren't my favorite, 9th and 13th in the Bristol concrete races, but at a price of $8,800, I think they'll improve enough from that fall effort to be your perfect B driver after you get one of these big guys in the A's.
I'm on it. I'm on with you, man. Like, let's not forget who was the best driver at Dover last season. Martin Truex Jr., who was arguably the best driver at Dover in 2022. Martin Truex Jr. What is our only comp track? Dover. I'm locked on, and I think Martin Truex is going to be great leverage this week in the DK streets because nobody wants to bet him. At least I've heard no chatter on the internet about Martin Truex Jr. except fading him right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit on the fade train for Truex.
You don't think it's bad luck? I feel like there's some asterisk marks there with Truex for sure.
No, I mean, like, it's something about Bristol specifically. Like, I agree with you on Dover, but Bristol specifically, there's just something about this track that Martin can't quite grasp. Like, if you go look at his history, like, his finishes aren't like, they're like not just like not great. Like, they're just bad. Like, average finish of 23rd here in the last 3 years here. So yeah, I don't know. I was avoiding Truex at all costs, talking about him at all costs tonight. I don't like him.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when you look at how it's shaken out, it's never shaken out good for him. But I thought he had some speed at times last year in this race. But yeah, Troy's with you, man. No love for Truex. Who do you love, Chris? Who else belongs in this B tier with him?
I think I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott.
Great call.
Apparently, I'm riding the Hendrick train tonight. That wasn't planned. But
Flag
yeah,
plane, baby.
So we'll talk about him more in a little bit. So a little hint there. But yeah, I just feel like this has always been a really great track for Chase Elliott. At some point, man, this team they need something to click. They need that morale factor. They need something to kind of really boost them. And I feel like this is a track that they could see that. Chase has career average finish of first year over his career. So one of his better tracks. They need a race to get back on track. So I like this spot here as kind of like a buy low.
Yeah, I'm about it. I'll talk more about him later tonight as well. What about Tyler Reddick, Elliot? Can we throw Tyler Reddick on? Just like everywhere we go, the guy's just fast as hell. He's just been fast as hell. Not necessarily the greatest Bristol driver. Didn't have the best total speed ranking here last year, kind of in the mid-teens, but it seems like he has speed this season at 9,000. If you want a little more consistency than perhaps Truex, maybe you go with Tyler Reddick. We know he's going to be towards the front. Can he get the finish? That's always the question.
Yeah, I'll throw up his teammate Bubba Wallace too. Better short track racer nowadays, keeping his stuff clean. Pretty good in the speed rankings, 7th and 11th in the next gen car, and at a very reasonable price at $7,700, a little bit below Ty Gibbs at $8,000, who we have in the A's.
Yeah, I love it. Any non-Toyotas for you, Chris, or are you just going to keep on the Yoder train? We almost got them all now.
Yeah.
I think the only other guy that I feel like we are kind of missing from this tier that probably deserves to be here is Ryan Blaney. So I'll go to the Ford camp. Ford typically, especially the last year, maybe more SHR than Penske, but Ford has run pretty well at the short tracks or the shorter tracks. And we saw it last year with Ryan Blaney, a true performance rank here of 8th. What was the other one I was looking at? Total speed, 9th just last year. And then he also qualifies really well here as well. So, somebody I expect that should start near the front, second qualifying in the next gen era for Ryan Blaney. So yeah, I think he deserves to be here.
Yeah. Elliot, do you got anyone else for B's? Because I have one person I think who we can make the case for.
We're running pretty thin here. I mean, normally I would kind of like Logano, but I think these Penske guys are a little overvalued this week. I mean, Blaney at 10.5, Logano's at 9.5. You have to go all the way down to 23rd in the next gen speed rankings. He just hasn't had it on the concrete at Bristol the last couple of years.
I mean, he's averaging fucking 9 DraftKings points per race right now. I don't think you can play Logano, especially here coming to Bristol, where he did not run good last year either. So, yeah, throw like Logano C's for T's.
Yeah, I'm going to throw him in the C's just since we kind of already got
Yeah.
We'll talk about him a bit. But who else were you thinking for the B's?
Yeah, go back to the Ford camp. Give me the guy on the thumbnail, Michael McNasty, baby. I'm doing it. I think this guy, he's got speed at Bristol. I don't know why, but his finishes here over the last 5 races for him on the Bristol concrete: 6th, 11th, 24th, 10th, 7th. You want to talk about the dirt? I know it's a totally different race. 11th and 9th. This guy is good here. He has speed. One of the better guys just always at Bristol. Like, I remember playing back in our early fantasy NASCAR days, Elliot, when we would still do it through Excel, and we would like redraft every couple weeks, and I would always go after him here, even like back when he was in that like shitter numbered 95 Levine family racing car. So I like Michael McDowell a lot. I'll talk about him more later too, but yeah, give me Michael McDowell this week at $6,800, man. I would give a lot of shit for $6,800. I wish I could put 5 Michael McDowells in every lineup this week. I love him.
Yeah, and his qualifying probably going to be pretty good here too. They've been good qualifying this year, and I think his pole bet is at plus like 900 or something like that.
Best average start in NASCAR, 6.0, Michael McDowell. Who had that on their bingo card through a month, Chris? Who?
Nobody. Literally nobody.
All right. Who else we got here? We're probably down into the C's, Chris. Anyone you're feeling? I definitely feel like we hit a nice drop off there.
Yeah, it's a pretty big drop off, honestly, and you kind of see that in the the odds boards as well. But Yeah, who do I want to go with here? I'm not going to say I'm not doing another Hendrick driver. I'm refusing. I'm just going to skip right past that.
There's only one left, and we know
I know.
he doesn't have a good track record at Bristol. So,
all right. I think I'm going to throw an interesting one out here, just because he qualifies well. But Chase Briscoe, he's a guy that kind of surprises, at especially tracks like this. Again, I mentioned SHR. They ran well at these shorter tracks last year. Briscoe was one of those guys who kind of started towards the front. Briscoe also has a really good Dover track record as well. So yeah, I think Briscoe, a guy that is not afraid to get his hands in a fight. Like, he will move you out of the way. He'll do what it takes to kind of move people out of the way to get to the front. So yeah, I think I like Briscoe here.
All right.
Yeah. I don't hate the Stewart-Haas train either. I was going to throw up Noah Gragson.
Yes.
This guy has run better than I think any of us expected. He's been the guy who's led this new youth movement at Stewart-Haas. 6,700 is priced relatively comparable with McDowell there. McDowell just ahead of him at 6,800. I think Gregson keeps the hot streak going in that 10 car.
I like it. I like it a lot, man. Noah Gragson's been a sneaky little find over on Fan Tracks. I've been rostering the last couple of weeks in our league over there, and it's been a joy. He's been a great addition to the squad. Troy asking, do you think drivers will go for stage points? Drivers that stayed out last year for stage one really hurt track position. A lot of playoff drivers did this. How do you feel about this, Chris? Obviously, it's early in the season, so stage points are a little less meaningful, but they still mean every single point means something at the end of the day. And do you factor that in right now in your decisions? Because it's hard to know how far the gas can go, how far the tires can go without seeing them on pavement or on concrete this weekend.
Yeah, I guess I don't disagree with what Troy's saying here. I think it's an interesting question, but I think it's hard to kind of handicap that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I feel like last year, and I hope I'm not mistaken, this is 2022, but I think we had a caution like right before the end of stage one. So there was a lot of teams that kind of made that decision of like, do we stay out? Do we just go ahead and pit? And it was also in the playoffs, right? The concrete race. So like it was more monumental at that point in the season to stay out. So I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, but I don't know that I'm really going to factor it in to my betting card.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible to factor it in, at least pre-practice and qualifying, because I feel like this goes one of two ways. In the playoffs, obviously, there are guys, Bristol, I forget if it was a cutoff race or a mid-round race, but regardless, there are going to be guys who are close points-wise who are going to be more likely to take the stage points, especially if they're not thinking they're going to win the race, to try and make up what they can in the playoffs. In the regular season, I feel like this almost comes with how good or how shitty of a car do you have. If you're kind of running there in the mid-teens, maybe this is just from paying attention to so much Bowman, since normally he's running about 10th to 20th most of the time I really pay attention. But if you got kind of a shitty car and you get the opportunity to go up there, get some stage points, shit, he did this the other week at Vegas, I think. Didn't have the greatest car, does a different pit strategy, gets a couple stage points out of it, and then fades back to the back the rest of the race. So sometimes that'll happen where if you want to win the race, you'll definitely see this at road courses too.
Yep.
If you want to actually win the race, you are going to definitely, in some situations, you'll forego the stage points and you will go make sure you're in the best position to win. And there are other situations where, get us some of those 5 stage points, because 20th place points ain't going to help us much.
And I think it underlines here, like, there are crew chiefs like Michael McDowell's, like Todd Gilliland's, who are willing to roll the dice and get those stage points because they mean more to them for a guy who might have to point his way into the playoffs. So great point there, Troy. I appreciate the question, man. And let's go ahead. Who else do we want to throw up on this board? Oh, Jesus. This got really, really gross really quickly.
I mean, I got a couple ideas if you're really stretching, Seth. If you have anybody you're thinking of.
Throw Eric Jones up there. I think Eric Jones is a nice little find for you here at 7,200. As Ryan noted in Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week, Eric Jones was a top 10 car here last year. He's in a Toyota. He's in better equipment now. I think he's going to have speed. Can he get you the finish? I don't know. That's what we've kind of seen from all season, a little up and down on the finishes, but I do like him. And then there's a couple obvious ones here, Elliot, if you want to hit those too.
Yeah, I'll open the floor to Chris first if you have anybody else you think is worthy of the C's.
Yeah, I want to comment quickly on Eric Jones too. I do like this one because the last time he was in a Toyota, right, when he was running for JGR, this was one of his better tracks. Average finish was 7th when he was running for JGR at Bristol. So if Toyota really does show the speed that he typically does at Bristol in a Toyota, then and this year just in general, that could be a really sneaky one. I think one, I guess that's the highest left on my rankings that we haven't put in there that probably deserves to be, I would say Chastain. If you want to compare him to Larson, right, to where he runs really well on concrete, Dover is another really, really great contract for Chastain, a guy that I'll be looking at when we go to Dover. I think Chastain is a guy that, could really run well here. He's got 11th average finish, so it's not, he won't be a race winning material, but a guy that can sneak out a top 10 for you.
Yeah, I think for Chastain, it's just like I like so many other guys that more in that tier, like 8,300 for Chase, Ty Gibbs 8,000, and Chastain 8,500. So like, and I love me some Ross. How about that car? Did you guys see that car? What he's running this weekend, boys? Oh, we're going fishing. Oh, baby, man,
yeah, nice to get his first special Busch car.
Dude, I'm gonna have to buy a lot of Ross Chastain Busch Light diecast coming up. A couple ones I think that were actually interesting here. Ricky Stenhouse, he's at least a D if we don't want to put him in the C's, because like surprisingly total speed rankings here in the next gen era been pretty good. Dover actually pretty good as well. So Ricky Stenhouse, not bad here at all. 20th in the next gen total speed rankings at this track, 13th at Dover. So not a bad call there from Troy. And then Carson Hocevar. What do you guys think about Carson Hocevar? Ran 11th here last year, really strong. Was in that 42 car. Now he's in a 77, which apparently doesn't suck, is what we're learning. Maybe it was Ty Dillon.
Oh, it 100% was Ty Dillon. Everybody watched the show and knows I'm sure Ty Dillon's a great guy. I know I
like Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon. I'm sure Ty Dillon's great. And the guy who we met at Pocono who looked just like Ty Dillon, he was great too. But Carson Hocevar, you're getting a real driver in this car now, and he has had his stuff together. Last year, his problem in trucks was he was always getting in a mess, tearing up equipment, all this stuff. Not only has he run well, but Spire has not looked like shitboxes. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
I like this. I like this call out a lot. Hocevar has been. I don't even want to say that he's done better than we thought, because I think we all recognize that he's a good talent. It's just was the car performance going to live up to the talent? And it seems like so far it is, right? I mean, he's been outshining both LaJoy and Zane Smith.
Yeah.
Hocevar, honestly, he kind of broke my model this week because he's only got one race, like one cup start at Bristol. And so he ranked 7th for me, but I have like an asterisk next to it because it's like it's 7th in one race, but it's something, right? Like it flashes like, oh, well, there's something there to look at.
Yeah.
It's really interesting with Carson Hocevar and Spire. Like, I think Spire in general has just taken a leg up. You've seen it with the truck team. Obviously, they kind of inherited a great truck team, but they're not fucking around. They're getting real support from Hendrick Motorsports too. And that cannot go, unannounced, man. Hendrick is backing this company, and it's kind of like a sister company at this point. I think like we kind of need to start treating it almost like subsequent to Front Row, if that makes sense. Kind of what Front Row is to Penske. That's kind of how I think I'm viewing Spire now. Dude, they are looking great, man. Yeah, give me some Carson Hocevar, Ken. I'm with Ken, bro. Hell yeah, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Hocevar. Spire's run well. I'm not quite to the point yet of Front Row, because it took Front Row 12, 13, 15 years to get to where they are now. Spire, we're still on the upswing. But I do like the 77. I do think it's probably time to drop to the Ds.
Yeah.
Funny that I mentioned Kyle Busch. Maybe I'll put him in the A's. As a driver, he's an A-tier driver almost everywhere. He's definitely an A-tier driver at Bristol, but his price, he was up at $10,200.
So much, bro.
In the next gen, neither he nor Richard Childress Racing have been able to really hit the setup. Down in the mid-teens in the speed ranking. We finished in the mid-20s last year. Yep. Obviously didn't run well in his last year. Gibbs in the next gen. So it's just, if Kyle Busch, if Rowdy can have the car to do it, we can see the Rowdy of old at Bristol. But we just got to wait and see. We'll see how they come out in P&Q. And maybe I'll hop on some of these, if not that they're low numbers now, but after the stories last week, maybe I will wait after practice and qualifying. I'm already getting ahead of myself here. But just Rowdy the driver just intrigues me more than Rowdy the car is going to give him, I think.
Yeah, I can't blame you there, man. I'm worried about it. I know a lot of people like it when he goes double duty and he's going to be in the trucks on Saturday night. But listen, this early in the season on a short track, you have to factor in pit road performance. And Rowdy's been god awful on pit road, whether it's his crew or whether it's him. Someone's going to make a mistake, and that's going to put you a fucking lap down at Bristol, if not two. And I don't want to play that game. I just can't do it anymore, man. So we got Stan on Kyle Busch saying, I took the KFB over 1.5 wins sucker bet. This week would be a great time for the magic to happen. We're hoping, Stan. We're not as confident here, I don't think. Saying I would rather start Dylan than KFB and DFS. Definitely a little more salary relief on Dylan.
That's the only upside, right?
Dylan's been a little bit better here. This is traditionally a good track for Austin Dillon. Any love for him, Chris, the number 3 car, or anyone else in this D tier?
Yeah, I couldn't quite get there. Like I 100% agree though. I'd rather play Austin Dillon than KFB, but I don't know that I'm quite like on the 3 train necessarily. I think I'm gonna go back to the SHR camp though. I think I'm gonna go to that 4 team with Josh Berry. So the Cup series, right? We haven't seen Josh Berry he hasn't started at a Cup race on the concrete Bristol track, but in Xfinity, he had 3 races there. He only had 1 top 10, but his average starting position is what really caught my eye. It's his best track as far as starting position. He has a starting position of 6.3 in the Xfinity series. It's his best starting position of all oval tracks. And we think of Josh Berry, right, in that short track mold. That's where he came from. Yeah. So if Noah Gragson and Briscoe and all these guys, if they kind of know the recipe, they know the formula to show speed in the race, and Josh Berry can go out there and put, get a good starting spot in qualifying, I think Josh can be kind of sneaky for you at the bottom of your lineup.
Good call out. Real good call out. I've seen some Josh Berry love out there this week, and definitely a short track racer here, Elliot. The guy who's kind of come up under Junior's wing, and this is what he's made for. So I think this will be a good testing grounds for that number 4 team.
Yeah, I mean, the short tracks are definitely Berry's bread and butter. He definitely wants to get up there, try and get on that same level as the 10 and to a lesser extent the 14 this season. As for the tiers, I think it's time to throw up the 2 guys there's just 2 guys the same most weeks where they're in a good car, so the price is a little inflated, but are they really going to run any better than 12th to 15th? Alex Bowman isn't. Daniel Suarez isn't. Yep. I don't see a whole lot of upside for them. 7,500 for Bowman, 7,000 for Suarez. If you're really, if you're really dumpster diving and you have a big one, you need to just fill in that salary, go for it. But neither of these guys this week are really screaming out to me as being worthy of playing over basically anyone else on the sport.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Throw the 16 in F for me. I like the 16 a little bit. AJ Allmendinger just seems whenever he's in a Cup car is fantastic, even though the organization does not believe that for some reason and wants to make us sit through Derek Kraus behind a Cup car steering wheel for fucking 2 weeks. That was god awful.
Hey, Austin Dillon really hates having him in that car because his race got ruined on lap 1 because Kraus couldn't keep his shit together.
Dude, like that. I mean, that shit affects stuff. Like it does. Yep. Like I'm tired of Matt Colleague out here fucking with my bread, man. Come on, buddy. You got enough of it.
He's got to make sure his bread stays in. So that's why the pay drivers get to steal a ride from Allmendinger.
Yeah. So fuck that. AJ, I'll give him some love. Throw Ryan Preece just in this tier just because he's an SHR. A lot of Ryan Preece love on the internet. I'm not about it as much as everyone else is this week. Yeah, that's probably like John Hunter, I guess, just should be ranked because he's John Hunter and he's a fucking stud. But
yeah, and the Legacy Toyota connection here, he's worthy of being on the board.
Who else should be on the board, Chris? Who else should LaJoy has had some runs here, but LaJoy kind of LaJoys himself at the end of races always,
Yeah, I'm very much out of ideas here. I like what you guys just did there, finishing out with John Hunter. I think that's a good way to finish for me.
Elliot, anyone else on the board? Todd Gilliland? Gilly?
Yeah, the only 2 guys I can make an argument for are Gilliland and Zane Smith, and I think the rest are just a little off. Any thoughts?
Yeah, throw him on the board. I don't even want Cindric here. Cindric's been absolute dog shit. Like his speed ranking was 35th last year, 27th the year before. Yeah, I'm good. Elliot, you can give 2 cents on anyone else if we haven't mentioned them.
Yeah, I mean the 2 car, maybe he keeps up running somewhat better in 24. Probably not quite. We already talked Dylan and LaJoy a little bit. Rick Ware Racing, Gralla and Haley are both decent drivers. But we just got to see the cars make it through 500 miles. If we can see, like Justin Haley, if we can see the car make it through 500 miles.
Laps.
Then maybe 500 laps, sorry.
500
miles at Bristol, we are all damn day. You're right.
Yeah, buddy.
So 500 laps at Bristol. If they can make it through that, then maybe. But we're not there yet. And then, of course, the 2 just, why are you even here, guys, for 2024 are Harrison Burton and Daniel Hemrick.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that does it for tire tiers. What do you guys say? Let's jump into the betting markets here.
Yeah, let's roll.
All right.
Yeah, these are our parking garage props. Seth teed me up there, and I whiffed on it. So that's what the segment's called, and the nice little tune to go with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's talk about the books, guys. What do you guys think? I'm seeing some love out there in the streets. I'm seeing some hate. I thought they were solid. I thought we got odds early in the week. I was happy about that. And like shout out DraftKings. DraftKings is back in the game. I think they're putting out some real competitive odds, a couple different markets. Same with FanDuel. Like maybe it's because of the launch of North Carolina, Chris. And congrats to you, Chris, as well. Like, do you think that's changing some things? And like, what are the vibes like right now in North Carolina? It's gotta be palpable right now.
Oh, it's amazing. Like you guys know, like I'm the king of the offshores. Like I love the offshores having those crazy ass matchups and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been so great having I signed up for we have 7 or 8 legal books. I signed up for every single one, made sure I got my bonuses. And then of course now I'm in Chicago, right? The first week of launch, and I'm not even in North Carolina. But yeah, no, I agree. Like it's fun seeing, especially DraftKings, right? Because or is it FanDuel? Which one is NASCAR? One's NASCAR and one's Charlotte Motor Speedway. Because in North Carolina, to get a license, you had to be linked to an operator. Or, sorry, the other way around. To be an operator, you had to be linked to a track, like a venue or a team. And I think one is linked to. So I think
DraftKings is linked to the team, and FanDuel is linked to the track, I believe.
I think that's right. I thought MGM was one of them, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, either way,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So it's pretty cool though, because the whole idea for that was the linking is because they want to do actually like on venue betting. So you show up to the track and you can walk right up to like a physical sports book at the track, which is cool. I like the idea.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like I'm excited to see what continues to happen over the next couple weeks with North Carolina coming to the fold. Like this is a big deal for motorsports betting. And like if you guys are new to NASCAR betting or the community, like this is a great time, I think, Elliot, to get involved, because I feel like everyone in North Carolina has to be jacked, especially in that Charlotte area and the NASCAR community that Chris grew up in.
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina is NASCAR. So having it legal there, I'm glad that so far it's been a positive impact, because I almost worry it can be a negative impact and we'll see stuff bet down because all the people in North Carolina are able to bet on it.
Lines were moving swiftly this week for sure. And Chris, you kind of grew up in the NASCAR scene a little bit. So like, are you expecting this to encourage more fans to get back involved with the younger generations? Because there are not many people Elliot and I's age out there watching NASCAR every week.
I mean, that's the hope, right? Like you hope that that bringing gambling into space is going to get more people interested, because I mean, I know we're biased, right? But NASCAR is a very fun sport to bet on. Like you're not going to you can't just like get plus 1,400 odds for your stick and ball sports, right? Like you can bet guys and really hit some big tickets. So yeah, I think gambling can only do good things for the NASCAR community, because what's better way than just, have your outright ticket in your hand and bring a cooler to the racetrack and just chill out for a few hours and sweat it out, right?
Yeah. Shout out NASCAR. Shout out North Carolina. Shout out DraftKings. You guys are doing it good. Let's go to outrights, man. How are we feeling in the outright streets? We're being cautious. We're not being overly aggressive, but there's still some lines out there we can maybe exploit. Chris, what do you think, my friend?
Absolutely. There's some. I'm not really going to the top of the board to start. There's a lot of fun odds, like kind of middle of the board to chase after.
Agreed.
So I guess, am I starting it off here? Am I
go ahead, man. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Brad Keselowski plus 1,400. You can still find that. I bet it on MGM earlier in the week. I think it's gone at MGM, but I think DraftKings or FanDuel, one of those has 14.
Still available at DK, and Caesars has it boosted to 1,600.
Okay. I might be double dipping.
That was my number of the week. I couldn't agree with you more, Chris.
So yeah, I've got him as he's 4th in starting position in the next gen era at Bristol, 4th in finishing position. His teammate Chris Buescher, which I'm sure Seth already talked about, is probably going to talk about some more, but he won here in 2022. So RFK knows the formula here, right? Ford in general has just been fast on these short tracks. I've brought up SHR a few times, but don't forget RFK is part of that Ford camp. Let's not forget about him. Brad, 5th in drive rating, 3rd in loop data, and 2nd in the FQD stat that I keep bringing up. And then shout out to the Win the Race, Greg McThern. He does that Front Runners article, which is a great read every week if anyone hasn't read that. He has Brad as 5th in his Front Runners article, which basically talking about guys that run in the front most of the race, majority of the race, and Brad's ranks 5th in that. So if we're talking about starting position being important, Brad's a guy that tends to run up front at Bristol. So yeah, 14-1, and like Elliot just called out, if you can find a 16-1, that is magnificent though.
Yeah, Troy, that was a boost on Caesars as of about an hour and a half ago. I'm assuming it's still there, but that's where I saw it.
There you go. Troy's also on Brad. He's excited about it. Elliot, any additional thoughts on the number 6 car? Because I know you were high on him. I put him as the picture to your article this week. You were ready to go on the number 6 car.
Yeah, I mean, Keselowski was my favorite number. Busher being at plus 1,500 is a great one also. And normally I'm the guy who I don't look at the top of the board. I want to try to go down, get those big ticket hits. But Denny Hamlin at plus 550, you know, he beat your favorite driver and your favorite driver and all of our favorite drivers. He reminded us of it. And just with the Toyotas on a hot streak right now, I don't hate that number.
Yeah, I does it grow though? Like that's the question. Like Chris, if Denny qualifies, does that go, like on the pool? It's probably 3.5 to 1 is probably what you're looking at. Like I wouldn't bet that then, but does it shrink that much? And do you think it's going to shrink, or do you think it grows this weekend?
I mean, he is number 1 in my qualifying model, so I would think that he's going to qualify well. I don't know if he'll be plus 300 though. I think he'll be like, I think 4 is probably the ceiling, plus 4 or 450, just because Denny's one of those guys where he's going to do something on pit road, right? Like he's going to speed or something's going to happen. So I don't think he's going to be quite as low as if we were to see like Larson put on the pole. I think Larson hits the pole. I think we could see a plus 350.
Okay. Gotcha there. Alfred in the chat, I want to get to him. He's bringing up McDowell 50 to 1 when projected to qualify 7th is worth a look. Yeah, he's actually 6 to 1 or 60 to 1 right now. I believe I got that over on that was DraftKings. I went about a quarter of a unit on that, and then top 10 for Michael McNasty as well, plus 240 for Michael McDowell. We already went over the finishes: 6th, 11th, 24th, 10th, 7th. He was good on the dirt. This guy loves this track. And last season here, started 4th on the concrete, finished 6th, ran 99% of the laps inside the top 15, 5th in driver rating, 4th in the total speed rankings. And it really feels like Michael McDowell is peaking at the right time. Qualified on the front row to begin the season twice, fellas. Battled back all day through adversity in Atlanta. Struggled at Las Vegas, but then started 9th, finished 8th at Phoenix. And only one of 12 drivers with 2 top 10s this season. And we already said best starting position average in NASCAR as well. So Michael McDowell, 60 to 1, like I'm not going heavy on it. It was a sprinkle. But that and like, how do you feel about the plus 240 for a top 10, Elliot? Does that, as someone who's looking for some value out there, does that jive with you right now?
Yeah, I like that number a lot. That trend's pretty similar to the couple of guys I have looking at top 10s here. McDowell, you know, I didn't explicitly put him on my board anywhere, but I do think that he's worth a look for sure.
Yeah. And those lines are shrinking. That is shrinking. Like, I don't know if you could get him at plus 240 now. I did that on Tuesday, but I know he's still out there like 2 to 1 in a lot of places. I think worth a look. Chris, who else do you like here in the outright market?
Somebody put it on the dock here, so I'm surprised it hasn't been brought up yet, but I hinted at it earlier. But Chase Elliott at 20 to 1 is a guy that I'm making the spring on here. So I talked about it in the tiers, right? Chase, this is a track where he's been good here pre-next gen era. Like there was a track that he was really dominant at. I think this 9 team they're reeling, right? They need some momentum. They need some morale. I think this is a good place to do it. And the underlying numbers suggest that although the finishes haven't been there for Chase, he hasn't been all that bad at Bristol. 9th in loop data last year, 6th in the next gen era in loop data, and 9th in the true performance rank on wintherace.com by Brian Stevens over there. So I think if they showed that level of speed and we're still kind of under the radar and they have this history of being good, I think he could be sneaky. When do we ever see Chase Elliott at 20 to 1? Like typically just because he's NASCAR's most popular driver, it just gets bet. So it's like super low, right? So I feel like this number has the most opportunity to change between now and Sunday.
And wasn't it weird, Elliot, to see it at 20 to 1 on a track that Chase is actually fucking lit at?
Yeah, with those 2 Hendrick guys, both the same with Bowman and Chase Elliott, we just got to see something. We got to see these guys put together a full good race, let alone a win. They just really haven't had that consistency after their injuries. And I mean, I do like that number for Chase, but I don't know that it's going to change all that much unless they go out and smoke the field in And I just don't know that I'm comfortable betting them outright or even for a top 3 or top 5 until we see some of that consistency there, or even one, really good run, a third place, led some laps. We haven't seen that from either of them either.
Yeah, we haven't seen Chase run laps and like lead laps in about a year, and that is the one thing we are fighting with this bet. But I'm down on it with you as well, Chris, at half a unit of 20-1, and also it was just about plus money, but I didn't get down in time. Top 10 for Chase right now. I minus 105 at Caesars when I got on it. I think that was last night I got on, so it might have been a little bit worse odds now, or better odds, excuse me. But I think what Chris is saying is very true. This is a great track for him when you look at it. And like Chase Elliott, he hasn't had a top 10 this season, but he's somehow 9th in the fucking points. Like, he's still getting good finishes. It's just not where he deserves to be. And like, keep in mind, the next closest driver to him who hasn't scored a top 10, 25th, Carson Hocevar. So I feel like with a 15th place average finish, there's got to be some regression, right? Some regression to the mean. Chase has to, like, I wouldn't mind him for like a potential top Chevy even. I haven't got that far with him, but I think he's worth a look, man. And at almost even money for a top 10, I'm there. And at 20-1, yeah, Chris, I'm with you, man. I think if not now, win. If not now, win. If not, win.
And Elliot, I'm with you in the sense that, like, I agree with you. Like, it's a risk. This is high risk, high reward, right? So to go in on him pre-practice and qualify, because he could go out there and just look like dog shit. He really could. But my point for the number changing significantly is just because he's NASCAR's most popular driver. So if he shows any glimpse of speed, he's going to get bet down just from a market standpoint, right?
First race of betting in North Carolina too, which I guess is probably the state where he's second most popular. And I don't know if sports betting's legal down there in Georgia, but
yeah, good point. I'm with you, Chris. I'm excited to see what we get out of Chase. Elliot, is there anyone else on your outright card that we haven't touched yet?
No, we've discussed all the guys I had outright.
Okay, and you were also on Kez, right? You were on Kez.
Yes, yeah, he was my favorite number of the week. I got him circled here, so
okay.
Good to know I'm on track with the guy like Chris here. I feel good about the rest of my numbers.
Chris, I got one more here in the outrights, but I'll turn it to you first. Anyone flag hunting is hunting this weekend?
That's the only two I have right now is Brad and Chase. So
okay, I'll go with one more. I went plus 200 for a top 5 over at Bet Rivers, half a unit, and then half a unit on 13-1 at DraftKings. Ty Gibbs, man, listen, dude, we talked about early in the show. This guy came on way faster than I think any of us thought he was going to. Top 10 in average starting position this season, number 1 in average finish. And when you look at what he's done at Bristol on the concrete as well, I'm not counting the year he was in Kurt Busch's car. He was still kind of getting into the Cup Series, wasn't in his full-time ride. But last year, started second here on the concrete, finished 5th, led 102 laps, second in average running position, 4.4, number 2 in pass differential, ran 99% of the laps in the top 15, third in driver rating. This guy's just off the charts right now, man. Like, when you think about Ty Gibbs, he's another guy who's cutting his fucking knuckles on these short tracks. He's going to go out and fucking wheel it, man. And 9th at Dover last year in the total speed rankings. He was good at the Clash. Like, this guy's good at short tracks. He did it last week too. So I think he's someone else who, like, with his average starting position of 12.5, he could go out, easily qualify in top 5. And this number, you're waking up Sunday morning, it's 8-1, 9-1, 10-1. And like, I just want to get in now. It's a risk with this guy, we know, but he's someone else. I really think that, like, I think a winner is coming from the 12 to 20 range this week. I really do. That's where I'm shooting my shot. So Ty Gibbs, Elliot, any thoughts? Can you get behind the kid, even though there is some high variance with him? But I mean, he's been so damn good.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it. I have on my board, Caesars had a couple of top 3 specials, or is it top 3 or top 5? I can't tell what the hell I wrote. You can go look. I think it was top 3. Ty Gibbs at plus 425. So I think he's going to run well. It's just tough until the guy gets that first win. It's tough to bet on him to win a race, but I do think the 54 will be one to watch.
Yeah. All right. Troy asking as we shift into placement props here. Bubba and Reddick have good cars last year. Bubba top 10, but just bad pit strategy. Bubba top 10. What's the number out there? I guess I can see what we're getting out there for him.
It all depends on the number. Like I said, I think 2311 will be fast. I think it's a good track for Toyota. Just
I'd rather take the juice on Reddick minus 125 than Bubba plus 180. It's a big number, Chris, for a good car, though.
Yeah. I always struggle with the 2311 cars at these short tracks because to Troy's point, like it feels like they have good speed, but like the finishes, like it never feels like they really finish these races off. I would expect them to both qualify. Well, I have them 9th and 10th actually in my qualifying model, but they're 12th and 13th as far as like finishing position. So like it's right on the cusp for me. So I don't know that I'm comfortable to really bet it, but it's close. It's close.
Elliot, any additional thoughts on 2311? I mean, Tyler Reddick's looks scary fast, but him and Bubba sometimes just don't get that finish that you need in the betting markets.
Right, and that's the only thing that gives me pause, even though I don't hate the Bubba number for a top 10. You just get to a point where you pick more than 10 drivers for the top 10. You're like, oh, something's not adding up here. So eventually you get to that point.
Yeah.
Maybe 2311 is that point.
Yeah, he's outside of it for me for sure. Anything else for you guys in the placement props? I'm pretty much laying on those guys that I also touched on outright. Michael McDowell plus 240 top 10. If you can find 2-1, go ahead and get him. Chase Elliott close to even money top 10. I like that. And then Ty Gibbs top 5. Chris, anything for you in the placement props we haven't touched on?
Not that we haven't touched on. I am going to jump on the back of you for the Ty Gibbs top 5 though. I'm on that as well. Plus 240 over at BetMGM.
Nice.
Okay. So I think he's on the cusp of getting a win for sure, but I feel safer betting him in the placement market than I do the outright market. I know the number, if 13-1 is fun, but until we see him really get that first win, I think I'm not quite there in the outright market. But yeah, I agree with you though. Like I think 4th in loop data in the Bristol car here in 2023, 7th in front runners, 6th in true performance rank. We saw him lead a lot of laps at both the Clash and Phoenix. So clearly, like the Toyota speed is there on these short tracks, and Ty Gibbs has a knack for them as well. We saw it in the Xfinity Series. So, Ty Gibbs top 5 is my only placement position, but I do also love that McDowell. You're really talking me into McDowell tonight. I'm not going to lie to you.
Michael McNasty, let's go, baby.
The more you talk about him, the more I look at my numbers, and I'm like, I can see it. I can see the path.
Have you seen that nickname anywhere else for McDowell, or is that a Seth Woolcock original?
I think that's an original. I've heard Mark Harris coin McDriver. I like McDriver too. I've heard...
McDriver, I think, is an older one. I think that was originally his Twitter handle, right?
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I was waking up. I was thinking about Michael McDowell, and like I hadn't actually bet the outright, and I was like, "Fuck it, it's Michael McNasty week. Let's go." And it just came to the kid in the shower.
When he finishes in the top 10 and we clip this out, put it on the internet, we can start to trend that, and we'll take credit for that. Michael McNasty in that 34.
Yeah, or he just fucking crashes and burns and it doesn't go well.
Well, that would be a different kind of Michael McNasty. That would be when he blows all our bets and finishes.
Yeah, 30. I'm knocking on wood for that one. Elliot, anything else in placement props we haven't touched for you?
A couple of long shot top 10 numbers that caught my eye. We already talked a little bit about how well these guys have run, even though they haven't necessarily gotten the top 10s consistently. Noah Gragson at plus 250, Carson Hocevar at plus 300. These are guys that'll get up on the wheel. They'll do what they need to do at a short track to get a good finish and get the finish their car deserves. I think both of these guys are intriguing top 10 long shots.
I considered Carson at the number. I heard earlier in the week he was 7-1. I didn't get there on open. I was hearing some places he was 7-1. Now he's closer to 3-1. Yeah. I think I would have been more inclined to bet it that high of a number. It's hard
7-1. I'd be slamming it.
It's hard to bet it on Carson. While he has run great, a lot of his running has been in that 7th to 13th range, and towards the end of the race, he's kind of fading a little bit more. So I do worry about what 500 laps on. He needs to bulk up a little bit. He needs to get like on that Willie B regimen and hit the gym, bro. And I think I'd be a little more inclined. But I don't mind the Carson Hocevar call it all though, Elliot. Like I couldn't get there, but I was close. So. I like Carson. Yeah. Hit the gym, bud. What else do you say? Josh Berry 3-1? Is that
Gragson plus 250?
Okay. Gragson's looked good. Were you expecting him to be this good off the jump, Chris? I was not at all.
No, we did a preseason podcast, and we did a bold takes episode. We had Worm on for bold takes, and I actually said, "Oh God, this is going to hurt to put out in the airwaves," but it's already out there on Flag Hunting's airwaves. But I actually said that I thought that 4 out of the 5 Spire and Legacy drivers would finish better than all 4 of SHR drivers, because I thought SHR was just going to be historically bad this year.
Well, they might, because they keep getting penalties, so you might be saved out there, honestly, by that. Yeah, I think Gragson would be like top 15 right now if he didn't get that 30-point penalty. So, absolute bummer there. Let's go to matchups. I found nothing out there. I'll be honest. I've been attacking the matchups in the groups more after qualifying this season, having much more success. There's usually a driver I see in practice or qualifying looks a little off, and I've kind of just been fading him. Last week it was Joey Logano. I've done it earlier in the season with Larson at the Super Speedway. So that's going to be my attack this week. Anything live right now, Elliot, that you're getting down on?
There were a couple I saw in BetMGM that were halfway intriguing, and you know how much I like the plus money on the matchups. This one, sort of a backmarker one. Corey LaJoie plus 110 to finish ahead of Austin Dillon. I think Spire's been good enough and RCR has been mid enough. That's worth a look. And more toward the front of the field, ideally, Brad Keselowski plus 125 to finish ahead of Christopher Bell.
That's swinging with the horses. I'm a no bet on both of those, but I don't mind. I don't mind where your head's at on. Actually, I might. Where'd you say that the LaJoie one was?
They're both on BetMGM.
Okay, all right. BetMGM sometimes they
Yeah,
always
they're back and forth, but
they want me to always log in and verify my identity every 5 days. I'm like, I'm not.
well,
I don't
need
need
a lot of books. You know,
not
you
every
gotta-
5 days. Come on, BetMGM, get your shit together, bro. Chris, anything you like in the matchups and your thoughts on any of the ones Elliot threw out?
Yeah, I guess I'll start out by saying that I'm not really a matchup guy. I don't really bet a lot of matchups.
Yeah,
I'm more of a group bet guy than I am matchups. But I also agree with you, Seth. Like, I like to do it after practice when we actually see some things.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is another one on BetMGM that I think is interesting, but it's outpriced. Like, you can't bet it now. It's kind of unbettable. But Elliot, Seth, you're gonna like it. It's McDowell versus Priest, but McDowell is minus 160.
Yeah.
That's a tall glass of juice. Oh man.
Even earlier in the week, that was I think on the book I first saw it maybe one minus 150, and I was like, nah, I can't go there. Even though I love it, I do love it though. It's like a great. You don't pay the juice if you don't lose, but there is some variance at fucking Bristol with the crashes, you know.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you're getting a little glass of juice. It's another thing if you're taking the whole carton of Florida's Natural and gulping.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Anything else, guys, or do you want to jump into? We can round out some specials and other series. All right, let's go there. Elliot, let's stick with the Cup first. Is there anything in the special markets you found this week? I did not.
Yeah, there's always a couple specials I throw out there just because they're specials. You know, they're special, they're fun, they're plus money. Yeah. Why not give it a shot? You know me, I always go with who has the highest odds to win. Who has in the manufacturer's chat. Ford is at plus 220. I love RFK. There's other Fords that look intriguing. I always like whoever's got the longest odds there. I like that, and I feel like more often than not it does well. I got to track that better. A couple top Ford numbers in there. Chris Buescher is at plus 350. I like that a hell of a lot better.
I know. I thought about that one.
Yeah, I like that a lot better.
Great call.
Brad is at plus 300, and so is Blaney. I like Buescher a lot better there. And if you're really on the Noah Gragson train, plus 1,600 to be the top four.
Michael McDowell, 1,600 too.
That's another good one. Another good one.
Yeah. That top Ford market has been haunting me in my dreams. I've been going to bed thinking about damn, do I get down on Michael McDowell at 16-1 or do I go Buescher? Because I'm high on both those guys. Yeah, good call outs there. Anything else you're seeing out there?
I got a few more. Either you guys have any specials or I'm just taking the reins here.
What do you got, Chris?
So I think it would be unlike me to come on here and not give a poll bet, right?
Yes,
I typically do.
Yes, let's go.
So
you're a fucking shark with these, bud. Let's go.
Yeah.
Maybe don't say that yet because I'm going to go real deep here. So I don't really like the top of the board. I think the top of the board is. I mean, I could make a case for anybody, right? So let's just make it fun. We've seen a lot of speed out of Noah Gragson this year, especially in qualifying. I mean, if not for a bad lap at Phoenix, I think he had a card to really put a good speed up there. You can get him at plus 8,000 to win the pole, which I think
like a McDowell number from a couple weeks ago.
And we've talked about SHR being good at this track. This 10 team with Almirola hit the pole 2 years ago at Bristol Concrete, so they also know the formula. I think that one's really fun. And then staying in the SHR camp, we talked about Josh Berry already, right? The 4 team. Kevin Harvick's been good here. Rodney Childers is still on that pit box. How about 100-1 for Josh Berry to win the pole?
Damn.
I mean,
oh boy.
Why not? I think why not have some fun with the SHR camp, the Ford camp in general, to win the pole? And then I'm sticking there as well for manufacturers as well. I think top Ford, Noah Gragson. You guys talked about 16-1 for McDowell. Gregson's also 16-1.
Yeah.
Gregson, don't forget about how good he was at Xfinity Series at Bristol.
Yeah.
In 6 races, 2 wins and 4 top 10s. Like, no joke. He's no joke at this track in the Xfinity Series. So, yeah, those are my kind of fun ones. Longer shots, but fun ones.
I'm not going to lie. I'm probably tailing you on at least one of those, if not both those calls. That's a crazy number. That's a crazy number that first one you threw out. Holy shit, man. I remember it wasn't that long ago. You're putting it was probably I don't know when it was. It was when Ryan Priest hit that
Martinsville 50-1.
Yeah, and you were texting our group chat literally 5 minutes before that, and of course I'm not around on my phone to get down with you guys. Everyone's celebrating that day. I'm not, but no, good call outs there. I'll go to the trucks at the end. I have a couple truck bets, but Elliot, throw anything else out you have here for Cup.
Yeah, that's good. I'll transition you into the trucks. Another fun Cup bet that I saw, drivers not completing 250 laps. So that's if you think guys are not going to make it to the halfway point of the race. The over-under is set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is at -150. Under 1.5 is at +120. So the chaos of Bristol, if you think it's going to come in the first half of the race, maybe not the best glass of juice to drink. If you think that it's going to be relatively chaos-free and then people start dropping out, take that under at +120. I like that a good bit because, hey, if there's a big wreck on lap 251, you still hit your bet there.
Yeah, I'd have to do research. I don't know where the wrecks usually come at Bristol. Actually, thinking back on it, Chris, do you have any intelligence on that?
I don't. I wish I was more prepared for this one, but I will say, as someone who's going to be at the track, I feel like I want chaos. So the over might be fun. Just from the
you can still have your chaos. It can just come at lap 251 and all.
Fair. That's fair.
Chris, have you been to Bristol before?
I have not. This is knocking one off the bucket list for me. I got Darlington off the bucket list last year, Bristol this year, and hoping for like Daytona or Atlanta next year. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, when Dale Jr. announced it was going to be one of his Xfinity races to go to Bristol last spring, I thought about it, ended up not making it work, and the fucker goes out there and almost wins the race, if not for a door panel on fire.
Yeah,
so Bristol's definitely on my bucket list as well. And if you like the favorites, the last special bet I have. You can parlay Kyle Busch winning the truck race and Larson winning the Cup race at +1,800 over on Caesar. So there's a way to make good money on the favorites if they both work out.
Okay. All right. I'll round us out here. Couple truck bets here. Dipping my toes in this. I'll be honest. I like watching the trucks and betting the trucks more than I do Xfinity. Xfinity to me feels like a ball. Like, again, I'm newer to these other series. I'm newer this year. I haven't been betting them in the past. I've more been tailing people in the past, making some bets this year. I like the trucks. I like Corey Heim this week for a top 5 -125 and Christian Eckes for a top 5 -125. I'm also going to do a little bit of a lift with Corey Heim and go top 3 +170. And looking back at this race last year, like Christian Eckes just dominated at Bristol. It wasn't really generally close for the entire race. Heim kind of came from the back, ended up passing him late for the win. Average position in that race for Christian Eckes, 1.4. Corey Heim, 5.1. So they're both in the mix. And it seems like both of these guys are the best full-time trucks this season as far as speed goes. Heim has a top 3 in 3 out of 3 races so far this season. I like Corey Heim a lot. I couldn't get down on the outright just because I've been betting Rowdy to win in the trucks, and I haven't been on him when he's won this year. So I couldn't get all the way down the outright, but I do like these guys for some placement props.
Yeah, I would totally watch more truck series too, but you almost have to watch them on mute. It's like, the last couple of years with Fox, Vince Welch and Jamie Little, both great pit reporters. They can't do play-by-play to save their lives.
Dude,
so if it's Adam Alexander in there, I'm all in. Let's watch some trucks, baby. But
Jamie's throwing heat right now. I'm not gonna lie. I've been impressed with what Jamie Little's doing. I think she's gonna be replacing.
We're gonna have to get your ears checked, pal. I think
dude, she's throwing heat right now. Jamie Little's throwing fucking heat. Don't throw that shade on Jamie.
Throwing heat like saying congratulations, Justin Allgaier on winning Xfinity when he crashed 15 laps before. Right. I don't want to get too far off topic, but it's if you like watching races on mute or you can sync up MRN, then I love the trucks. Hell yeah.
I don't know, man. Jamie Little's throwing some gas this year. I've been impressed. Trust me, I've been critical of the booths in the past. I like Jamie Little. Chris, any booth critiques for you as we round out the show?
I'm with Elliot here. I love Jamie as a pit reporter. Like, I think she is a phenomenal pit reporter, but she is not made for the booth. She's just not made for the booth.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, I was just saying the other day, I think she could replace Mike Joy. I'm going to be honest. That came out of my mouth.
If that happens, I'm going to tune on to the Cup Series Week 11 after the Fox station time. I'll tell you that.
You can link in our MRN. You'll be all right.
Yeah, there you go. Dave Moody screaming at us in the turns is much better.
Well, this has been a blast, guys. First, I want to shout out the IBT family. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in with us. We have so much fun here on the back road. We have the 19th hole earlier in the week. That's our PGA DFS and betting show. We have the IBT Fantasy Football Podcast Tuesday nights as well. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to come back, hang out with Elliot and I again every Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, and our other co-host Rod Villagomez as well. And we get great people in here like Chris. Chris, we can't thank you enough. I know you're busy traveling in the great state of Illinois right now. You're enjoying the first week of legal betting in your home state. You got a little one at home and your wife, but thanks so much time for not just making time for us tonight in the IBT family, dude, but everything you do for this community, bro. You've been a big part of our ascension here at IBT, and we can't thank you enough, man.
Well, listen, I appreciate you. You make the call, and I'm always here. I love coming on the show. It's a lot of fun, high energy, which just gets you juiced for the weekend. Especially when I'm going right now. I have all this stuff to look for, and I can at the race be like, "Oh man, Seth and Elliot, they were right. Let's go."
Well, we appreciate it, man. Tell us one more time how everyone can best support you and Ian and the flag hunting, because you guys are taking some big swings every single week, my friend.
Yeah. If you love outright betting, we're the place to go. We don't really, especially Ian. Ian doesn't bet any props in the golf market. I am more I'm like 80% outrights, 20% props. So we flag hunt. But yeah, you can find us on Twitter at @flag_hunting. We track all our bets as soon as we make them on the Action Network, which is at Flag Hunting Pod. And you can obviously listen to our podcast. We released on Apple and Spotify. We release on Tuesday nights for golf, and typically Thursday nights or Friday mornings for NASCAR. So yeah. Come out and join us. And if you're going to be at Bristol, let me know. I'm willing to kind of meet up with some people and enjoy the race together.
Yeah, have a couple bush lights, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elliot, it's been a busy time for us over here. Definitely stir the straw season right now. We're cooking some stuff in the background, hoping to potentially cover a couple more races this year. You and Ozzy, you guys put out your betting articles on the website, inbetweenmedia.com, each and every weekend. I have my DFS article that comes out on Fridays, and then my Betting Pros betting column comes out on Fridays as well. But tell us what we got looking forward to from the NASCAR team this year, man. Anything else you can give the people?
Well, hey, I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting to some races. We're going to put out some more good content. We always refer back to our low Pocono trip last year. We did a lot of things right. We learned a few things, though.
Oh, yeah.
We can do better for the fam this year. But hey, it really has been a fun one. Thanks to everyone for riding on down the back road with us, and enjoy 500 laps, not miles, 500 laps. I'll remember that at the last great Coliseum in Bristol this weekend.
Thanks, everyone.